ביאור משנה ח', explanation for משנה ח'. 6 דברים עשו אנשי יריחו. There were 6 things that the people of Jericho did. היו נוהגים לעשות אנשי יריחו שלא ברצון חכמים. So the people of Jericho weren't very religious.
Against the Chachamim. Chachamim not do it and they did it.
We'll see. They weren't very religious. And I don't know if the word religious is... Yeah, I don't know if the word religious, as you're going to see soon, is going to be a correct word, but they didn't act like everybody else. They were special. Yeah? We'll see. היו נוהגים לעשות אנשי יריחו שלא ברצון חכמים, not with the will of the sages. Even though they went against the sages, על 3 דברים מיחו בידם, on 3 things the sages were adamant, you'll have to change it. You're going to do what we said, or there's going to be trouble. חכמים, ועל 3 לא מיחו בידם. And on 3 the sages says, pick your fights. So the sage says, you're wrong, you're going against us, but we're going to pick our fights. It's not, we're not going to die on this hill. Yeah, we're not going to die on this hill. We're going to pick our fights. So even though they were not happy, they didn't rebuke them. אלא שמכל מקום לא הייתה רוח חכמים נוחה מהם. But they still didn't like it that they did it. But they said, we're not going to, go all the way with you. ואלו הן. These are them. By the way, this Mishnah, again, has got nothing to do with Pesachim, but just because one of the examples has to do with the 14th of Nisan, that's why we bring it in. ואלו הן. 3 הדברים שלא ביחו בידם. These are the 3 things that they did not rebuke them. So we already established yesterday, the day before yesterday, that on the 14th of Nisan, they don't do any work. Yeah, Jewish people, depends on the place, but they don't do any work.
Or they do work until noon.
Or they do work until noon, right? Yeah, one of the two. ואלו הן 3 הדברים שלך. Number 1, מרכיבים דקלים כל היום של ערב פסח. They used to graft, how do you say decal in English? Palm trees the entire day of the 14th of Nisan, even though the sages said not allowed to do it from midday on, or according to some customs, from the morning on. Why? So everybody knows, Jericho עיר התמרים. Jericho is the city of dates. היו עוסקים בעונה זו בהרכבת כלים לשם השבחתם. This was the season where you graft. And the season is very short. If you don't graft during this time, that's it.
What do you mean graft? What
they have, I'm not exactly...
pollinate the things.
Yeah.
Take it from one thing to another.
Graft is usually that you put 2 trees together.
That's right. They would take a male and put it on a female, or a female to put it on a male. I don't know exactly what. They will cut this thing and they would a branch of a male on a female, so that the female and the male branch, something like that. We'll see. Okay. Yeah, that's what it says. Zman haרכבה. haרכבה is grafting. Maybe you can do it with... But pollinate is not להרכיב. Yeah. וכיוון שאיחור זמן ההרכבה אפילו יום אחד עלול להביא לידי הפסד פירות, and since if you're going to be late, the time of the grafting, even one day, you're going to come to a loss of fruits, היו עוסקים במלאכתה זו גם בערב פסח. They would do this specific work also in ערב פסח. Maybe the word grafting over here means something else. I don't know.
Pollinating.
Maybe it means pollinating, yeah.
Yeah, because they are going to lose the... But that means that they did it all the way. Erev Pesach, you mean Yud Daled.
All the way to the...
To stop at noontime, they kept all the way.
That's right. That's right. So that's one thing that they didn't
rebuke them.
They didn't rebuke them. He says, this is the livelihood, we cannot go, that's the livelihood. Number 2, they used to do, because they were very busy during that time. Actually, I don't know if it's only on the 14th of Nisan. This is always they used to do that. Number 2, korchin et shma. And we did it already in Masechet Brachot, if you remember, that was like 2 years ago. But when we said korchin et shma, what does it mean korchin et shma? You make the shma shorter. is that the custom, we say Shema and Baruch Shem and then the 3 paragraph. They had the short version. They went straight to the short version, and we're going to see what it means. Korchin et Shema. בברייתא בגמרא מפרש רבי יהודה, in the Braita in the Gemara Rabbi Yehuda explains, שלא היו אומרים ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. They wouldn't even say ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד בקריאת שמע. ורבי מאיר מפרש, רבי מאיר explains, שהיו אומרים שמע ישראל השם אלוקינו השם אחד, ולא היו מפסיקים. You know, we elongate in the אחד because you have to zero, and they didn't stop over there. הוא מפרש רש"י שלא היו מפסיקים כלל בין אחד ל"ואהבת. They would just say, yeah, everything together, it's one paragraph, one big paragraph for them, it wasn't stopped. ולא היו מעריכים באחד, they wouldn't elongate the one. ויש מפרשים דעת רבי מאיר, and there are those who explain the opinion of רבי מאיר, שלא היו מפסיקים בין תיבה לתיבה כדי לכוון יפה. They would just rush through it. Yeah, they would do it quickly. Yeah, so this is, again, the Chachamim says, look, these guys are workers, let them be. Gimel, another things that the Chachamim didn't like, but they let them do. קוצרים וגודשים לפני העומר. They would harvest and they would pile before the Omer. So you see what it does mean? שכן אסור לקצור בארץ ישראל, because one is not allowed to, the Rabbanim says you're not allowed to harvest in the land of Israel, min מחמשת מיני הדגן, any kinds of the 5 grains, לפני קצירת העומר, before the Omer was brought into the Beit HaMikdash, the new produce. שנאמר בעומר, because it says about the Omer, ראשית קצירכם. You're going to bring this the first thing that the Beit HaMikdash has to take, not you, for you guys. שיהיה תחילה לכל הנקצרים, that the Beit HaMikdash is going to be the first one to get the new harvest of the new year, is going to be in the temple. במה דברים אמורים? In what are we talking about? בקציר שראוי להביא ממנו עומר. We're talking about a good harvest that is befitting to bring into Beit HaMikdash. אבל בית השלחין שבעמקים, but they did not have such good harvest. There's no much rain over there in Jericho. They don't get much rain. So therefore they do have fields, but all the fields that they do have is they have to water it themselves. They have to bring the water. And you can know how much is going to grow when you bring your own water. It's not going to, you're not going to make a wheat field with your own folder, which is good quality. So it says, anyway, this cannot be taken to Beit HaMikdash.
Second quality.
Yeah, it's second quality. It cannot, even if you want to take it to the temple, you can't take it to the temple. Therefore, we're allowed. That's what they said. Therefore, we're allowed to harvest, we're allowed to do the whole thing. היינו, שדה הזקוק להשקעה בידי אדם, all the fields in Jericho, there was no rain, there's not much rain in Jericho, so everything had to be watered by hand. And they said, הואיל ותבואתו גרועה, it says, since our produce is so bad, our wheat is so bad, ואיננו ראויה להביא ממנה את העומר, and anyway you're not going to take it from our wheat to the בית המקדש, מותר לקצור אותו לפני העומר. So therefore we can, cut it before the Omer because it's not for בית המקדש anyway. ומכל מקום לא התירו חכמים אלא לקצור. But even then the Chachamim says, okay, you know what? We'll let you cut it. But, what did they say? אבל לעשות גדיש מן התבואה אסור. But starting the process of bringing it into the barn, that you're not allowed to do. And they did it. They also made piles. שלא יבואו לאכול ממנה לפני הקרבת העומר, because it says then you might come and eat it from it. כמו ששנו. Like we said, קוצרים בית השלחים שבעמלקים, this is the rabbi's decree that says you're allowed to harvest your fields that in the bad neighborhoods where the wheat is not good, אבל לא גודשים, but do not start making piles, because then people are going to start coming take from the piles and make bread. ואנשי יריחו ששדותיהם היו בבית השלחים בעמק, and the people of יריחו that their fields were in that valley that was not good, היו קוצרים וגם גודשים לפני העומר. They would harvest and they would pile against the חכמים before the עומר. וכן שנו, and this is what it says, אנשי יריחו קוצרים ברצון חכמים. It says they're allowed to harvest, and this the sages gave them permission to harvest. וגודשים, but they piled And that was against the Chachamim. Vegodshim shelo beratzon Chachamim. And they would buy it not in the will of the sages. So you see, not everybody listened to the sages so much. The people of Jericho says, excuse me, you have your rules over there, we have our rules over here. Our place, different rules. And the sages, nevertheless, on all these three things, lo michu biyadam. It says, no, we're not going to die on this hill. That's what the sages says. We're not going to die. We're going to pick our fights. Velo michu biyadam at shlosh dvarim halelu. And they did not rebuke them on these three things. Ve'elu shemichu biyadam. And these are the ones that the sages said, no. Over here, we're not going to let it discontinue. There's going to be another three that the sages are going to say, this is too much. Forget about it. This is the hill we're going to die on. Ve'ele shemichu biyadam chachamim. So the first thing, matirim gimziyot shel hekdesh. They used to permit gimziyot of hekdesh. Hekdesh is something that you donated to the temple. So they say, matirim, let's go see what's the case over here. So it says, this is anafim rakim, they're small branches, shegadlu becharuvim veshkamim shel hekdesh, that grew in charuv, in carob trees, and other trees of hekdesh. We're going to discuss how you become hekdesh. Hayu anshe Yericho matirim leatzmam lihinot mehem. So the people of Jericho gave, we're going to see soon why, the tree for hekdesh, and then they would eat the leaves. They says, when we gave the tree to hekdesh, we made just the fruit. We didn't mean the whole tree. So therefore, they continued, they didn't eat the fruit, but they ate the leaves.
You eat the leaves of the carrot?
Yeah, that's what it looks like. For example, you know where we have a similar thing? Palm hearts.
Oh, palm hearts.
Yeah, let's take an example. They make the date tree into hekdesh, and the palms they still ate. Yeah, that's an example. Shayu umrim, because they used to say, avotenu lo ikdishu ela et hagzaim. So let's try to understand what's going on over here. What used to be is that people from other places used to come, thieves, and they used to cut down the trees of Jericho. I don't know, either they used it for wood, they used it for other things, and Jericho was remained without trees. And over there it takes, a palm tree, it takes 200 years to grow. So what the people of Jericho, the old people, generations before this, they said that all the trees of Jericho are hekdesh. They said, but the people, so
nobody would steal it.
So nobody would steal it. Very good. Now you think about this. Even the thieves did not mess with Bet HaMikdash, with not mess with something that they knew belongs to the temple. So even the thieves, it worked for. So at least nobody cut down the trees in Jericho. So it's true. They knew that they're not allowed to eat the fruit from the tree. They knew, so they didn't eat the fruit. But what did they do it? They ate the other part of the tree, and that the sages did not allow. It explains why. Let's see why. It looks like the mafia guys used to come in. They used to cut them off. That's why the previous generation stood up and says all the trees in Jericho are going to be hekdesh. So you don't cut. It's like almost over here in America, שמורה למענה הטבע, how do you call it? For protection of the environment. It's the same idea. Yeah. אבל הענפים שצמחו מהם אחר כך, but the branches that grew from them afterwards, אינם אסורים משום הקדש. They're not prohibited because of הקדש.
What do you mean by אחר כך?
After you
cut it?
No. After your father said this tree is hekdesh, and last year a branch came out. So you say the branch is not hekdesh, only the tree is hekdesh. The tree.
That wasn't there.
That's right. That's not hekdesh. Yeah. והרמב"ם מפרש, the Rambam explains, שהיו מתירים לעצמם לאכול גידולי הקדש. It says they even permitted themselves to eat the fruit of the trees. ואמרו, no. גידולי הקדש doesn't mean the fruit. It means the palm branches.
כן.
שלא נאסר אלא הפרי שהוקדש בעצמו. It says the only thing that is prohibited is the fruit, but not the leaves, not the palm branches, that is still allowed. אבל מה שצומח בשדה ההקדש אחר כך, הרי הוא מותר. But it says whatever grows in the field afterwards, it is permissible if it's not fruit. ויש גורסים, there are those who says, מצזים גמזיות, שהיו חותכים ענפי אילנות של הקודש, שצמחו אחרי שהקדישו את האילן. That they will cut the branches, כדי ליהנות מהם, to get some kind of enjoyment from them. Same idea. All of them are the same idea. So that's the first thing that the sage says, guys, you have to stop this completely. Second thing, אוכלין מתחת הנשרים בשבת. They would eat under the נשרים, the falling fruit, the falling, נשרים לנשור, לקשלכת, בשבת, on Shabbat. What does that mean? פירות שנמצאות תחת האילן בשבת. They would go under a tree on Shabbat, have a nice meal over there, and there were dates that would fall down, right? Now this is let's say this is in your own yard. It's your tree that belongs to you, yeah. So this is perot, and you eat under this ilan, and then you see that there's a dates on the floor. So they will take it and they will eat it. Now, what's the problem? If the date fell on a Friday, it's not a problem, because it fell on a Friday. The problem if the date fell on a Shabbos, then the date is muktzeh, because it wasn't ready to be eaten at the time that Shabbos came in, like we learned before. It needs to be ready at the time that Shabbos come in. And they don't know, but they ate anyway. They gave them permission to eat.
It was on the floor.
It's on the floor, that's right. So פירות שנמצאו תחת האילן בשבת, any fruit that they would find under the tree on Shabbat, ולא היו יודעים אם נשרו מערב שבת, they didn't know if these fell before Shabbat, ומותרים באכילה, and if they did fall before Shabbat, they're going to be permissible to be eaten, או נשרו בשבת ואסורים, or they fell on Shabbat and they're prohibited to be eaten if they fell on Shabbat. Then because they become muktzeh. And they continue to eat, and the Rebbe's case came over there and says, guys, this one, we don't allow you to do it all. They rebuked them. And one more thing that they did, notnim pe'ah layerek. There's certain fruit that you don't give pe'ah from. There's certain fruits that we don't, vegetables, sorry, not fruits. Yeah, there's certain vegetables that you don't leave a corner of the field for the...
Certain, there is anyone that you do?
I don't know. I think most of them you don't, yeah. Yeah, it depends on grains you do, but if it's not a grain, yeah, you're right. Yeah. So notnim pe'ah layerek. There are some. I think when we're learning the rules, I think there was discussion of some. Is it vegetable? Is it grain? The whole discussion over there we had. Yeah. So he says they used to give pe'ah for their. So he says, well, what's the problem? So they do extra. Yeah, they do extra. But you're going to see they didn't do it extra. It's going to be problems when they did this. Why? נותנים פאה לירק. הירק פטור מן הפאה. Vegetables is not obligated to be left the corner of the field of a vegetable field. Why? לפי שאין אדם מכניסו לקיום. The reason why, and this is the discussion we had there, when do you have to give the corner of the field is if there's a way to keep it in your house for a long time. For example, grain you can keep for years, but the grain you can keep for years. Tomatoes you can keep for a week and it's gone. So it says, so the custom is only from the things that you can keep you give a pe'ah. From this you just take, whenever you go to the field, you take 1 or 2 tomatoes and you go in the next day, you take 2 more. From that you don't give pe'ah. V'chayav, and therefore because you do not give pe'ah, that section is obligated in what? In tithing. So they didn't pay tithing. They were smart. It says, what are we going to do? It says, we're going to give our whole field, we're going to make the whole field the pe'ah. Nobody's using it except us. Right? Or so the adin they will take, but who wakes up in the morning first? You. I'm right here. So then I don't have to tithe it now, because it belongs to the ani. And this is the trick that they used to do.
And they would used to go and eat from them.
I don't know exactly if that was what they did, but the idea is that they didn't want to pay tithing. So from that part of the field, if they did it from the whole field of the part of the field, it was a feuerstick for them.
The way basically to minimize the tax obligation.
That's right. It's a way to minimize the tax obligation. Right now we're in tax season, so exactly that's what they did. ואנשי יריחו היו מניחים פאה מן הירק, they would leave a corner of the field from the vegetable, ונמצאו מפקיעים אותו מן המעשר, and then they don't have to pay taxes to the Kohen and the Levi. שכן העניים היו אוכלים אותו, oh no, we were wrong, they didn't take it from themselves. But when the poor people used to take it, they gave it away for the poor people. But when the poor people take it, it says they didn't pay tax from the part that the poor people tax. It says, no, you want to give it to the poor, it's extra. First of all, give the Kohen his due, Levi his due. And you're giving the Kohen and Levi less than their due now because you decided to take it off the top from the taxes. This is not a deductible. It says, you use this as a deductible, cannot be used as a deductible. That's exactly what's going on over here. היו אוכלים אותו...
I don't understand exactly the feuerstick here, what they gain, because if you leave a pair, they had to tie the rest of it. The rest of it, they used to pay maser. No? Just on that small part.
Yeah, they didn't.
They lose it anyway, so what they're gaining?
Maybe it was just a custom that they used to do over there. They didn't distinguish between grains and vegetables. And then the sage says, no, this one you have to distinguish. Okay. It's possible. היו אוכלים אותו בלתי מאוסר כדין פאה הפטורה מן המעשר. And in other words, he says, if you want to be nice to your people of the city, you want to give donations, you can give donation to the people of your city, no problem, but you cannot do it on the backs of the Kohen and the Levi. He says, after you pay the Kohen and Levi their due, then you can give donations, not beforehand. That's the idea. In other words, it's the redistribution of taxes. It says the taxes was designed for this. Don't give it to somebody else. That's the idea. This says, what's the difference to the Kohen or to the Ani? It says, there is a difference. The Kohen gets before the Ani. The Kohen gets before the poor person. That's the idea. Okay. And in these things, michu beyadam chachamim. The sages rebuked them in all these last three things we discussed. Shegimziot shel ekdesh asurot be'ana'ah. That anything that grows from the tree, even though the tree belongs to the temple, you dedicate it to the temple, it's still forbidden in enjoyment. והפירות שנמצאו תחת האילן בשבת אסורים באכילה. And the fruits that one finds under the tree on Shabbat is forbidden to be eaten because it is safek muktzeh, because it might have dropped from the tree on Shabbat and therefore it's muktzeh. שמא נשרו בשבת, ואין מניחים פאה מירק משום שמפקיעתו מן המעשר. And you do not redistribute the פאה to the ani because it belongs to the Kohen or to the Levi.